Okay, here we go with the Luther Part 2 video. If you haven't seen Part 1 and you want to see what this engine looked like when I first got it, check out Part 1. This is Part 2, and here we go. Start out, put a muffler on it, and I like quiet engines. I don't like loud engines. Used to like loud stuff, but I don't anymore. The quieter the better, so I added this muffler. Just a generic muffler picked up for it. And also the intake system here is actually another small engine muffler, which makes an ideal intake. It's restricted just enough that it gives a little bit of restriction that the engine needs to help with the mixture of the fuel. And also did a little adjusting on the intake valve here to where it seals a little better and draws a little bit better. We replumbed the fuel system here. Of course, this was in my opinion upside down the last time, so we've turned it over and replumbed plenty of fuel to it. One of the problems why it didn't run correctly is that it wasn't getting enough fuel volume. The pressure was good, the volume wasn't there. These little regulators, this is nothing more than a regulator for a gas grill, and gives about a half of a PSI, 1/2 of a pound per square inch pressure through this regulator. And one of the problems with this particular system is these valves have a safety feature in them, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Here is one of the valves here, and I will just say that when these come from the factory for your gas grill, there is a safety valve in here, and this one has an added orifice even, but there is a check ball that's spring loaded, and basically if this is screwed onto the tank like that, and this hose would happen to, let's say, just get severed off, you know, where it just is totally open, there is actually a check ball in here that will, with the too much flow of gas, will seat and shut the gas off. So with an engine like this, every time it takes an intake stroke, it pulls a pretty good little volume of gas in, and that little pulse and pressure drop was enough to actually put the tube out. It would the fire in the tube would go out, and it literally run out of fuel. So in addition to making the modification necessary on the valve here and the fitting, I also added a accumulator tank, and I suppose that's probably, I'm going to say, a little over a gallon maybe of volume in there, and I also put a gauge on it so I can monitor the pressure, and it runs about a half a pound. But and this gauge is the smallest, lowest pressure gauge I could find at the time. So you know, I've got a manometer that I could put on there as well, but this works fine. Just helps me to monitor the fuel flow, and it also helps me to diagnose the problem with this valve. The pressure would actually drop off to 0 at times when the engine was working hard. So combination of getting this valve correct, getting a fuel volume, getting enough fuel available for the engine. This is 3/4 pipe coming up through here and going into the regulator and also feeding the tube, and now it gets plenty of fuel, and haven't had any issues yet with the tube going out under high load. So the other problem was mentioned in the other video was the air control to the hot tube. And so I built this this thing here that is adjustable. I can close that hole off if need be, make adjustments on it there, and open and close the air. And I watch the flame inside that hole right there, and I can pretty much tell the temperature of the tube. And you know, if I suspect I have a flame that's popped back onto the orifice, I can just, this is spring-loaded, so I can just grab this, pull it back real quick, take a look at the orifice in there that I made, and make sure everything's cool there, and go on. So anyway, that sure eases the operation, makes it adjustable. This little slip ring here is, you know, typical you know, slip, oh, what do you call it, like a damper or something like that. It's you can adjust the amount of air to the flame, and makes a huge difference. Gives you a tremendous amount of control over the temperature of the tube. And this tin can, you know, probably not going to be necessary, but on a windy day, if you know, if you have issues with the tube, that can become a wind damper too. And besides that, it kind of looks cool, but it's just a soup can. So anyway, that's actually about it. The engine runs excellently now. It's a very good running engine, pretty reliable. It's easy to start. I shimmed up the rod. It was a little noisy, and boy, it's just a great engine, and runs good. So you know, that's about it. I just wanted to update you, and you know, if I get any requests, I can even get it outside here one of these days and fire it up, show you the starting sequence. Really nothing to it. You just got to give the tube. I found that if you give the tube and the head here about 15-20 minutes of warm up, makes startup real easy. So it's not real sensitive to the diamond valve setting. It makes a huge difference, but you know, there's a tick mark or two there that you can vary, and of course it seems to be that if the faster the engine runs on the governor, the more fuel naturally that I have to give to it. But you know, it's just a matter of change the speed, change the mixture, change the mixture, change the speed. You know, it's one of those things. So works great. Hot tube engines are cool, and we'll see how it works outside here soon. Maybe more video to come. If you guys want to see something of it running outside, you know, let me know in the comments. And the other thing is, I put some other bolts. I found some new old stock bolts that were square-headed that needed to be put through the mounting holes here down into the trucks. Fellow that put it together initially had carriage bolts on there, and of course there wasn't anything for the heads to grip on, and after some corrosion and so forth, they got really hard to deal with and trying to keep them tight. So found some good old square-headed bolts and stuck on there, and we're back in the game again as far as holding it down. It actually worked itself loose on the skids. So that's about it for the old Luther here, and we'll see what we can get into next time. And again, thanks for watching.